With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown.
And I am Yolana Weeks.
Our top stories. HIV and AIDS Secretariat representatives urge responsible sexual practices among St. Kitts and Nevis youth.
St. Kitts and Nevis police intensify vehicle checkpoint operations.
OECS energy ministers meet in Federation to address energy challenges. Concerns raised over Grenada's delayed budget. St. Lucia's Prime Minister announces a task force to address U.S. tariffs and deportations. Internationally, Sweden shooting. Police say 10 people shot dead in attack at education center. Now, the details. Dr. Matthias Ufre, National HIV and AIDS Program Coordinator, and Lucine Pemberton Vaughan, Health Educator and Counselor, were guests on WINN's Voices program on February 3rd, 2025, focusing on the central theme of responsible sexual practices among the youth in St. Kitts and Nevis. Dr. Ufre opened the discussion by emphasizing their aim to address sexual health and responsibility during the month of love.
We will actually present ourselves basically to talk to you today in respect to sexual health and actually sexual responsibility. This is an amazing time. February, and we know February is a month where we
love month, they say.
Yes, the love month, they say. And we know that during this love month, so many things are being shared.
People make love.
Yes, people make love. People express their feelings. And as such, we are here to actually have this conversation with the general public on how we can be responsible while expressing our emotions.
Pemberton Vaughan stressed the significance of self-love and urged listeners to prioritize self-love as a foundation for any healthy relationship. She cautioned about the risks associated with Valentine's Day.
A lot of gifts would be shared for Valentine's, Doctor. People do a lot of things all in the name of love. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we have a number of receipts. We have the receipt of gonorrhea, we have the receipt of syphilis, HIV, and we just want to remind the public that these things exist and that the best form of affection is self-love. And whenever you think affection equals protection. Mm-hmm. So we should not be looking to anybody to protect us.
Dr. Ufre echoed her sentiments.
Yes, that means it's our responsibility. It's your responsibility to actually protect yourself. And of course, control what you receive. As you say, not everything they give to you say thank you and receive. All right. So just like flowers will be shared, cards will be shared, time spent together will be shared. So other things will be shared as well.
The discussion shifted to the National HIV and AIDS Program's outreach efforts this month. Dr. Ufre underscored the importance of informing the public about available resources. Apart from advocacy, Pemberton Vaughan sought to clarify recent statistics regarding HIV cases, asking Dr. Ufre to comment on rumors of a rise in new cases.
Yes, that was a misunderstanding. Somebody got a message wrongly from what I indicated. I was giving a rough estimate. We have an estimated number of persons living with HIV. It's not that that's a new diagnosis, but estimated number of persons that are living with HIV from when the onset of it being presented to the Federation to the point where we are right now. And I was giving a rough estimate, but this estimate of what we have right now is 254 persons living with HIV. It's not new diagnosis, but an estimated number of persons that are living with HIV.
He noted that for 2024, there are 19 new diagnoses, clarifying that 19 are included in the 254. Dr. Ufre also pointed out the challenges faced by the health department in testing more individuals.
In fact, the number of tests we did last time, we almost 48,000 people, thereabout. All right, we have not more than 4,000 or no more than 5,000 persons, being screened for the year.
He stressed the importance of knowing one's status to access treatment.
It's okay if it happens that you're positive. Your war has not ended because we have treatments that are available, and of course, they are free.
Addressing the mindset surrounding HIV, the participants noted that public awareness has waned compared to previous decades. Dr. Ufre agreed that the perception of HIV has changed considerably, attributing this to increased treatment availability. He cautioned, however, that complacency could lead to increased transmitted infections. Pemberton Vaughan echoed the need for urgency in public health messaging.
Most people said, no, I have one partner. No, I am married. No, I trust my partner. And I usually smile because it simply means that we are putting our lives, our self-protection into somebody else's hands.
The conversation highlighted the societal responsibilities of safeguarding youth and promoting healthy sexual behaviors.
We have a number of our youths, teens are infected. We even had a 13-year-old who was infected with HIV. We usually go to the high schools to talk about sexuality, and we see it on the street. I want to send out an appeal for our older men, wherever you may be, in the schools as teachers, in the church as pastors and elders, in our families as uncles and cousins, sometimes as fathers, on the street, in our communities, our neighbors. Leave the school children alone, especially our young girls, our young boys too. But let them have the privilege of growing up and fully maturing and enjoy the childhood. It bothers me that there are so many women out there can't find a man, and we are going into the schoolhouses to prey on our youth. It's not right. It's not right. I am appealing to you.
Dr. Ufre encouraged a communal approach to protecting the younger generation, calling on the community to be vigilant and involved in their upbringing and fostering an environment that emphasizes open communication about sexual health.
I think it should be a generalized appeal, because we need to go back to the point where it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
Because growing up, I noticed that even my neighbors can even, discipline me if I'm doing wrong. But it's kind of very challenging right now to see that happening, because you might, cause a problem, between families or between neighbors. But we need to go back there. When you're seeing a young boy or young girl that's supposed to be in school but going into somebody else's home, it's call for alarm and ask the young person, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be in school. And all of this stuff. We need to go back to that point, because we need to ensure that we protect these young people.
The National HIV/AIDS Program continues to advocate for safer practices as part of its commitment to the health and well-being of St. Kitts and Nevis communities.
The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force enforces road safety regulations by conducting a series of vehicular checkpoints. According to members of the High Command, the police will be proactive in its enforcement efforts to deter reckless driving and improve compliance with the traffic regulations. Assistant Commissioner of Police Travis Rogers said the police are targeting not only daytime offenses, but nighttime offenses too, such as one headlamp, glow lights, and brighter red and green lights in the grille of omnibuses. Rogers informed that 81 tickets were issued during one nighttime vehicular checkpoint operation, adding that the public should expect similar operations more frequently.
We will be out in our numbers. We will be out as frequent as we can. We know we have some challenges, but we have already started the year well, and we want the public to know that we're going to be consistent, and we're going to be driving those operations at night to curtail those offenses.
However, the police are aware of situations where some people make attempts to undermine vehicle checkpoint operations by sending out electronic notices to the wider public. Assistant Commissioner Rogers explained how detrimental such decisions can be to police operations.
Some people who are sending out these WhatsApp are only thinking, hey, look, we're going to get a ticket. That is the avoidance of getting a ticket, $100. But what they're not thinking is that who are traveling in those vehicles, because it may be a traffic stop, but from traffic stop we could have solvability of major crimes, because our criminals, for lack of a better word, moving around in different vehicles, rental and private vehicle alike. And if you're going to alert the people that, hey, there's a traffic stop or vehicle checkpoint at point A or point B, then that criminal would get that information and be deterred, whether make a U-turn back around, and that same vehicle could have had firearms, which are the major contributor to our capital crime murders. So it affects us, and we want the public to know that it's not all the time we're just there for traffic offenses. We're there holistically to deal with other criminal offenses. There can be the movement of drug trafficking via point A to point B, movement of firearms and other contrabands. So we often get pushback when persons do these kind of things, and we want them to understand, because crime affects all of us.
In addition, Deputy Commissioner Cromwell Henry said it is considered to be an obstruction when people help others evade the police.
And it could be considered an obstruction of police, the police duties. It is an obstruction because, as the ACP just said, you may have people who are carrying contrabands, illegal firearms. They might be drunk. They might have something illegal, and you warning that person, you assist them in evading the police. So because you tell them police is under the bridge, for example, they turn down in Buckley's. So they have the truck full of firearms or stolen goods, and because you warn them, they gone down. And the police may be looking for him, may have been looking for that person.
That's right.
Because we expect that a truck should be coming this way with illegal goods, and you warn the truck and tell the truck, police down there, and so the truck evade. You assisted that person in evading the police, and that could amount to obstruction.
The public has been encouraged to continue to support the police in its road safety efforts and ensure to adhere to all traffic regulations.
Ministers of energy from across the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States are meeting in the Federation to discuss the challenges posed by climate change and the region's pursuit of sustainable energy goals, with a strong focus on renewable energy. The region remains heavily dependent on fossil fuels, a reliance that is increasingly unstable due to the rise in global prices and the impact of ongoing geopolitical conflicts. These factors continue to strain economies and highlight the urgent need for alternative solutions. Energy Minister Conrad Maynard reaffirmed the Federation's commitment to reducing its dependency on fossil fuels. He emphasized efforts to harness the country's abundant natural resources to create a more sustainable and resilient energy sector.
Sustainable energy is no longer simply a goal. It is a pathway to unlocking new economic opportunities, driving innovation, and building resilience for our small island developing states. Transitioning our energy infrastructure to sustainable energy sources, characterized by being indigenous, clean, and renewable, presents a significant opportunity to reinvent our economies.
Nevis's Premier Mark Brantley echoed similar sentiments, stating that both he and his government fully supports discussion on establishing a sustainable island state. Speaking during this morning's opening session, Brantley highlighted the critical role of renewable energy in securing the island's long-term stability.
Collaboration and information sharing among OECS states are crucial. By sharing knowledge, best practices, and technological advancements, we can accelerate our collective progress towards renewable energy goals. This cooperation ensures that no member state is left behind and that we leverage our collective strengths to overcome common challenges. Information sharing fosters innovation, reduces costs, and enhances the overall effectiveness of our energy strategies. St. Kitts and Nevis, and especially Nevis in particular, has made significant strides towards renewable energy. Our geothermal energy potential is substantial, and we are actively working towards harnessing this resource to not only meet our energy needs, but also to export to neighboring territories.
Director of the OECS, Didicus Jules, outlined the significant energy challenges facing the region. He stressed the need for collective action to address these issues effectively and ensure a sustainable future for member states.
The OECS stands at an inflection point where sustainable energy holds the key to our economic invention. Our fossil fuels will be the addiction that imperils our climate and stunts our growth. we face a clear economic imperative. The high cost of imported fossil fuels continues to drain our economies, with electricity tariffs among the highest globally, affecting our competitiveness across all sectors. Yet, within this challenge lies opportunity. By transitioning to sustainable energy, we can redirect millions of dollars currently spent on fuel imports into productive investments that create jobs, build industries, and drive economic growth.
The OECS Director General issued a clarion call for the urgent implementation of strategies to tackle the region's energy concerns. He emphasized that delays in actions would only exacerbate the existing challenges.
2025 is proven to be a year of great uncertainty and volatility, and I think all of us here follow the news very closely, where all alliances are adopting new stances that may not put us on the global agenda for change. They may not even consider the needs of small island developing states at all. But amid wars, civil and political strife, and a reordering of economic priorities in favor of the interests of powerful elites, 2025 may also be the year that we in the OECS set off on an entirely different course, leading to a truly progressive and equitable future. We are therefore compelled to treat the mission to reinvent our economies through sustainable energy development with, to borrow from Martin Luther King, the fierce urgency of now. The global picture is one of stark contrast. On the one hand, we see true climate leadership from nations like New Zealand, Britain, and even Switzerland, who have just submitted ambitious targets to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change under the Paris Agreement. On the other hand, we face a significant setback with the United States' announced intention to withdraw from the Paris Agreement, a decision that threatens to destabilize the delicate balance the international community has worked so hard to achieve.
Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew urged all ministers to move beyond discussions and take decisive action in implementing solutions for the benefit of the people of the sub-region. He emphasized that meaningful progress depends on swift and coordinated efforts.
We must think beyond borders and embrace the potential of shared resources. Collaboration and interconnection projects such as submarine energy cables can unlock new opportunities for cross-border electricity trade benefiting all member states.
In regional news, concerns raised over Grenada's delayed budget. Grenada Broadcasting Network has that story.
The delay in the 2025 budget presentation continues to generate debate as the country awaits clarity on the government's financial strategy moving forward. Opposition leader Dr. Keith Mitchell has raised concerns over the delayed presentation of the estimates and revenue expenditure, warning that the postponement could have serious economic and administrative consequences. Speaking during the latest episode of his podcast, Dr. Mitchell emphasized the importance of a timely budget, arguing that without a clear financial plan, key industries and government operations could face setbacks.
To me, it reduces the ability of stakeholders, different sectors, to plan appropriately for the incoming fiscal year, because you don't know about what the major plans of the government. Maybe if the government has a major project, you never know. And you expect to have, you will be planning as a business person involved in that particular area, you'll be planning. Maybe the retail sector might be saying, based on what they've seen, they might be able to make some arrangement for future importations in the country and hiring of other people. So it has implication for the government itself because it affects its own planning process. It has implication for the business community. It has implication for the farmers. It has implication for all sectors of the society. So I don't know what the thinking is.
Former business sector representative and businessman Christopher Diali also weighed in on the matter, sharing his perspective on the issue.
It makes it difficult in the sense of putting money into the hands of people and having their spending power not being delayed. On the recurrent side, yes, government have to meet their expenses every month and pay, and that may be delayed based on the budget being delayed. So they may have a buildup of local liabilities. But on the capital side, the spending for projects is also going to be affected with a delay, so that the authority is not there to spend as they need to. So various departments within government, of course, is going to have to delay the projects and the spend on the projects.
Diali addressed concerns surrounding financial planning, elaborating on how the uncertainty affects business operations and investment decisions in the private sector.
For us in the private sector, of course, that will all impact purchases, those of us in construction, and we may see a delay in terms of that and from a project standpoint and a capital standpoint. Planning going ahead, I suspect we just have to wait. You can't do nothing much based on what government when government gets the authority to spend according to their budget that they present, and once it gets past the both houses. So we just have to wait and hold tight until that comes out from a planning perspective. Of course, the idea is to have it done before the end of the year to start the new year. So it is just one of those things where it will impact us from a revenue standpoint and probably cash flow standpoint.
The national budget, traditionally presented in November or December, has been postponed to the first quarter of 2025. The government has attributed the delay to significant disruptions caused by Hurricane Beryl in July last year. To address financial gaps, Parliament approved a $269 million EC supplementary budget last September, representing a 17.2% increase over the original budgeted $1.6 billion EC for 2024. Additionally, Finance Minister Dennis Cornwall recently signed a general warrant to authorize government spending for the first quarter of 2025.
The amount is just under $400 million, because it takes a 3 month period for all the ministries and departments. There is provision for recurrent revenue as well as ongoing capital projects and so on. During that time, we'd basically prepare the budget speech, and read the budget in the first quarter of 2025.
As the country awaits the full budget presentation, concerns remain over how the delay will impact public services, business operations, and the overall economic stability. Reporting for GBN News, Nisha Paul.
St. Lucia's Prime Minister announces a task force to address U.S. tariffs and deportations. DVS St. Lucia has that report.
The Cabinet of Ministers has taken measures to address the impact of the policies of the Trump administration. A task force has been formed with Commerce Minister Emma Hippolyte leading the charge to deal with the impact of the U.S. imposition of 25% tariffs on goods shipped from Mexico and Canada and 10% on imports from China. On Monday, President Donald Trump said he would pause tariffs on Mexico for a month, but levies on Canada and China are set to take effect on Tuesday. This has prompted concerns about the increased cost of goods.
This shows basically how what happens out of St. Lucia, away from St. Lucia, has an impact on St. Lucia. We a very small economy, a small society, and the imposition of tariffs, what we are very concerned about is the impact it have on inflation, on the cost of goods and services in St. Lucia, particularly food. But as you know, we import many of our food and other goods from the U.S. So this is why we are creating that special task force to look at the implications. And I hope that all the people involved in the importation of goods will work with that task force to see what we can do to mitigate against the effects of the tariffs.
The situation, according to the Prime Minister, forces the country to look inward. More than ever, he says, St. Lucia needs to get serious about its food security.
I don't want to sound reproachful, but remember some time ago in my first year of office when I spoke about using our bananas and how I was ridiculed by the opposition, and when I spoke about people trying to use to consume what they grow, and I put a pun on it. I said, eat what you grow and watch what you eat and eat what you watch. How that was ridiculed. It was because of the lack of foresight in the opposition, for their desire to play politics with everything. When I spoke about cassavas, when I spoke about the cassava industry, again I was ridiculed. It has all come to the forefront of the necessity for food security. And what better food security than we can have than beginning to grow, to eat what we grow in St. Lucia.
Home Affairs Minister Jeremiah Norbert, meanwhile, will lead a task force that oversees matters related to the deportation of illegal immigrants. Currently, 8 St. Lucians are due for deportation. However, these individuals were identified prior to the commencement of President Trump's recent illegal immigration crackdown. A list emerged last week indicating that over 200 St. Lucians are marked for deportation. But this list has not been verified as yet, says the Prime Minister.
As expected, there's a little panic with that, and we understand that. But I don't want to speculate. Nor must I spread panic. What I'm saying is that we've got no official notification yet. What we know is there are a few people, I think 8, who are ready for deportation to St. Lucia long before what's happening now. These people are going to be coming back. As to the rest, we've got no official advice yet from the U.S. government in terms of there is a list, that list is being verified and being looked at. But in terms of they're saying to us that we have X amount of people coming, we've got different nature.
The Prime Minister also disclosed that several programs have been affected by the freeze on U.S.-funded foreign aid.
The violence interruption program sponsored by USAID, the CREP, which is the Community Reintegration Program for the inmates of Bordelais, and the OASIS program, they are now on hold because they're waiting for the final word from the U.S. But the government will do everything within its power to safeguard these programs.
The Prime Minister has called for calm among citizens and has given the government's commitment to safeguarding the well-being of all St. Lucians.
I can't assure anything. The United States policy is not dictated by St. Lucia. The United States policy is dictated by the United States. When they decide on the policy, we have to find ways and means of mitigating the effects. So assurance is not possible. What's possible is the government will do whatever the government can do within its powers to lessen the effects of American policy on St. Lucia.
For the DBS News World, Zane Romulus reporting.
We now bring you these international reports.
Police in Sweden saying 10 people have been shot dead at an adult education centre. The attack happened in the city of Örebro in the south of the country. Police say they believe the primary perpetrator is among the dead. Al Jazeera's Paul Rees joins us on the phone from Ronneby in Sweden. So, Paul, what are they saying about this suspect?
Yes, Sammy. Well, they're not saying too much about the suspect at the moment, apart from a few general statements. Now, Sweden has been rocked in the past few years by a lot of shootings and bombings as well, some 30 in January in Sweden. But these are all linked to the criminal underworld, the gangland in Sweden. The police are saying that they did not have any knowledge of this individual before this, so they seem to be ruling out that it's a gang-related attack, and obviously that throws open a wide number of possibilities. The police are saying they don't believe at the moment that it's linked to a terror attack, but this has become a really horrific instance of violence in Sweden over the afternoon. Initially, reports were that 5 people had been injured in this shooting, and in the police press conference an hour ago, as you say, that was changed to at least 10 people dead, and they think the suspect is among them. This will go down as one of the most violent instances, most horrific instances in Swedish history. As I said, there is a lot of gang violence. There was a stabbing to death of 2 teachers at a school in Malmö 3 years ago, but something on this scale, an attack at an adult education centre, the sort of campus where many people would go to learn Swedish after coming here as immigrants, but also schools for younger people nearby as well. This is really unprecedented in Sweden. The police are saying they don't believe any children have been killed in this attack.
All right, so they're saying they don't think it's crime-related or terror. Are they giving any indication of what they think the motive might be or any context for this attack?
They're not really, Sammy. You know, that really throws it wide open. You'd think if it wasn't gang-related, then you would imagine terror-related on some scale, but they seem to be ruling that out as well. Whether it's personal vendetta, I suppose that might be one of the causes. But we're just going to have to wait and see. The Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson is meant to be holding a press conference in about half an hour's time. I think the police will hold more press conferences in the morning, but rather confusing at the moment what the motive for this could be if it's not gang-related and not terror-related.
Scientists are monitoring an asteroid that has a chance, albeit small, of hitting Earth. But there's no need to panic, at least not just yet. Asteroid 2024 YR4 has an almost 99% chance of safely passing Earth on December 22nd, 2032. It's currently moving away from the planet, but will return in 2028. And a possible impact cannot yet be entirely ruled out. That's why, since it was first identified as a threat in December of last year, it's being closely monitored by the European Space Agency. Here's Juan Luis Cano of the ESA's Planetary Defense Office.
Let me tell you, the most likely scenario is that by the time we lose sight of the object in April this year, the impact probabilities will have lowered enough not to worry about this object anymore. However, there are still some small chances that it will remain in our risk list, and when we come back, when it will come back in 2028 and we reobserve it, at that time, it will have been so much time enough for us to determine whether, let's say, it will be impacting or not completely. So it will be a 0 or 100%.
Although the density and makeup of the asteroid is not yet known, it's estimated to be travelling at around 15 times the speed of a high-velocity bullet.
The impact velocity, which will be in the order of 17.3 kilometers per second at the moment of the possible impact, and the density of the object, which we don't know. So for that, we have to do some let's say, estimate. Let's say the amount of energy that would be released, taking into account those uncertainties, could range between 5 to 50 megatons.
As of January 29th, the European Space Agency estimates the probability that the asteroid will hit Earth on the 22nd of December 2032 to be 1.2%. Scientists are set to meet to discuss Earth's response if the asteroid's impact probability remains above the 1% threshold, which could include crashing a spacecraft into it to deflect it off course.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were HIV and AIDS Secretariat representatives urge responsible sexual practices among St. Kitts and Nevis youth.
St. Kitts and Nevis police intensify vehicle checkpoint operations.
OECS energy ministers meet in Federation to address energy challenges. Concerns raised over Grenada's delayed budget. St. Lucia's Prime Minister announces a task force to address U.S. tariffs and deportations. Internationally, Sweden shooting. Police say 10 people shot dead in attack at education center. Thank you for listening.